available to other folks if they were unable to make it today. We're really excited to have all of you. Right now, there's 41 people on the call, and I'm 42. I'm sure we'll get a few more as we go along. There's a couple things I want to offer. If you could put yourself on mute so that we don't hear the background noise, that'd be great. And otherwise, I will put you on mute if there's background noise. I'll take that role. But we still want to hear from you when there's open time to talk, so we'll make sure that you can be heard. And then I just want to encourage any of you to put your name, business, and email contact in the chat room now or at any point during the call if you want to be in touch with us, for us to get in touch with you. And the other thing that's shown up about the employee supported task force and the work that we're doing right now is there's a lot of peer-to-peer connections and support for each other. So if you see someone on the screen and you're like, oh, I really want to get in touch with Jennifer Walters, I'm going to send her a private message so that we can connect with each other and talk after this. Please use this time to connect with each other that you see on the screen. We really encourage that and love that. So at this point, I'm going to turn it over to Erica Lautenbach and Chena Stone to kick us off. So thank you very much, everyone. I'm glad you're here.
Go ahead, Erica.
Hey, good morning, everyone. I am live from our first day at the testing site. Just took my gown off in my P95 mask space, so apologies, I'm in my car. And I just want to thank you all so much for participating in this. You know, we've been talking a lot about how limited our tools are to combat COVID-19. We have physical distancing, we have hygiene measures, we have testing, we have isolation and quarantine. The health department has their case and contact investigations, and we have masks, and that's it. And without effective treatments or vaccine, that's what we have right now. And so the more we can maximize the use of all of these very limited tools that we have available to us, the better off we'll be, the faster we'll recover, and the sooner we'll be able to move to phase 3 and phases beyond and really reopen the economy. So I'm sorry I won't be able to join you for the entirety of the session. We actually have a 3-hour wait, so I'm going to get back on the front lines in a minute, but I just really appreciate all and your interest in working together and coming up with solutions to make sure that that businesses are really taking the lead on moving forward with safe practices. So thanks again, everybody. Have a great session, and I'm sure I'll see most of you very soon. Take care.
Thanks, Erica. My name is Chena Stone. So I am the chair for PHAB. PHAB stands for Public Health Advisory Board. So we're a body of board that works in conjunction with the health board for the county, with the county council, who are also the health board members. And we try to come up with guidances or suggestions for the health board to improve and move forward in a progressive way to keep our community healthy. So I feel like this involvement right now with pandemic that we're dealing with, our role at PHAB as well with the health board is incredibly important. The health department that we are also working with, we can't do this. We can't do this without all 3 of the bodies. So this task force that we're on right now on the campaign for, this idea was initially conceptualized by Erica, who just spoke. When we started it, over 140 people showed up. And most of those 140 people stayed on. And that's how interested our community is in this cause and moving our county forward to a better, healthy, not just economy, but safer, healthy situation for all of us. And so I want to thank all of the task members who have been working so hard on this project. And at this, right now, today, I feel like this is a stage of celebration and promoting the campaign that we have been working so hard for, Whatcom Together. I really love that, because without the Whatcom County being together, unified, we can't fight this battle alone. If we're separated, if we're divided, we can't win the war. And right now, with this pandemic, we are at war, and we need to be together in order to win it. And so this project is possible only because of collaboration and cooperation from everyone involved. So your presence today, your participation today, and your commitment to Whatcom County, bringing the community together, is essential for this project to succeed. So thank you for being here. And we could only do this because you are here. So I want to also introduce Barry Buchanan, and also shout out to him. He is our council member, and I just want to also say how thankful I am. He is our county council member. He's also part of PHAB, the Public Health Advisory Board. He has been such a positive proponent of moving our work to improving the community health. I just cannot thank him enough. And so, and we are honored that Barry is with us today. And just a big shout out. Thanks, Barry.
Thank you for those kind words, Tina. I really appreciate it. I really appreciate the work that you do, and the health department and the advisory board. And it's just a pleasure working with you all. You're all so professional, and believe me, I always look forward to our 7 a.m. meetings. They're early, but they are the best meetings of my week. So thanks again.
Okay, we're going to turn it over to Holly O'Neill now, who's going to take us through the program. Welcome, Holly. Thanks.
Great. Hey, thanks. Okay, everybody. My name is Holly O'Neill, and I'm one of the facilitators who's working on this project, along with Laura and Marty Solomon, who's here taking notes. And I'm going to, let's see, presenter view. We're going to go through really quickly just a foundation of our conversation today. So we're going to talk about masks, and the agenda for today's call, which is just an hour, is going to give a brief background, and we're going to talk about this campaign launch. And then I have Kim Hankinson from the health department on the line on the call today, and she's going to do an overview of the most recent state requirements for face coverings. And then we have some peers from the task force, business leaders, who are going to talk about their own experience on the ground. And I want to just make sure that everybody's clear. This isn't a forum to talk about, like, you know, the health implications or the politics or the philosophies around masks. It's really around how are we going to actually pull this off pragmatically. That's what the conversation is about. So here we go. I want to start with a little overview of how we got here. We started this COVID Employer Support Task Force, as Tina mentioned, and the purpose of the task force is to help our communities, businesses, and organizations to share, innovate, and improve best practices for safety in the face of COVID-19 now and in the future. And we're at a point in the task force where we're really expanding out into the community at large and really inviting all of you to join in this conversation. We have 140 members in 18 sectors. And today I am pleased, really thrilled to announce the launch of the Safer, Stronger Together campaign. And this campaign, you can find all the materials on whatcomtogether.org. So there's posters and window clings and materials for you to download and use in your businesses, so that we have consistent messaging about what the expectations are, so that we can communicate with our customers and our clients, so we can make sure we're backing up our staff, so that they have, it's not them just making it up. It's not all of us just making it up. It's us unified together. This is how we're going to do this. And the website's fantastic. And we can also provide you with hard copies of the posters and the materials if you just sign on to the website. So it's a very exciting day. I'm very thrilled about it, and the materials are amazing. So here's where you can download them on the website. And you'll notice that one of the first things you see on this website is that it links you to the health department's website. And here's where you can find, if you click that link, it'll take you directly to the health department's webpage, which is set up as resources for businesses and community organizations. So this will give you everything you need, and it's kept very up to date for how to get your business online so that you can get your Safe Start plan, so that you can get the guidance and the requirements that you need, and tips and tools and materials that the task force is putting together just to make your life easier and really to help each other out. So this is it's really coming along, and kudos to the health department for putting this together for us. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to introduce Kim Hankinson, who's a public health nurse, and she's going to go through what the current requirements are. So Kim, I'll just, you just signal me, or I'll just do my best guess on when to flip the slides, but I'm going to turn it over to you, and we're going to go through what the requirements are. So the floor is yours.
Thank you. So I'll start by just saying that today I'm at home. It's my day off, and so my 3 kids are here, and they might at any point be a little noisy, or I might be pulled away for conflict resolution work, but let's cross our fingers here. So I am a public health nurse in communicable disease. My primary roles are surveillance and disease investigation. I also am the liaison to child cares and school nurses. Let's see, so we'll just jump right into masks. As Erica said, it's part of our tool. Evidence continues to mount that this is a really important tool in preventing the transmission of this virus, because those masks will block our respiratory droplets and help us keep our germs to ourselves. Because unfortunately with this virus, people can have it, not know it, but continue to spread it. So is one of the tools in a part of others like social distancing, this is really important. So I like that graphic there on the right, just giving you, oh, please no recorder, the risk for people in wearing a mask to staying home, not wearing masks, that's helpful. And at any point, if people have questions later, we can talk about masks as well as face shields and all those issues. But we'll just go with, the governor gave us the mask directive, and then our Secretary of Health, Dr. Wiesman, also issued the state order that all persons 5 years old and up need to wear a mask when they are in public spaces, both indoor and outdoor, basically. And then with I should add, with the governor putting out that mask order, he also tasked L&I with enforcing that for our businesses. And then as of July 7th, the governor added that businesses are required to enforce the use of those face coverings by all customers or clients. And I guess I also want to say too that we are using a lot of times mask is the general word, but cloth face coverings are different from masks, are part of personal protective equipment. So just, I mean, I know we kind of interchange that word, but just keep that in mind. Ellen, I also want to add, I heard that L&I, they have the Which Mask for the Task. So those really great resources are on our website. And I heard that that is going to be getting some updates. You know, everybody's learning about this virus and what are the best practices to protect us. So keep an eye out for guidance as it changes. That's still something we face in this work, as our guidance changes frequently and it is difficult to stay up. Okay, so we can go to the next slide, I think. So if a customer then, you know, visits your business, I think the DOH and the governor's office put together some really helpful resources for, okay, how do you deal with this? So the first step is that you have someone politely educate the customer or visitor that there is this public health requirement to wear a mask or face covering. That this is the law. And I think that's kind of nice to be able to fall back on, this is the law. You don't have to get into the politics or the education pieces that say this is just the law. And then businesses could choose to have a supply of those disposable masks to offer. Okay, and then hopefully you get somebody that complies. And then the next step 2, oh, I see it over there, okay. So if they decline to wear it, then it's one of those just trying to politely inquire about if they have a medical condition or disability. It's not, we don't ask what that is or why, but that can just be, okay, we can understand that. And then you can proceed. I guess I should add, people do not need to have a card or a statement. They don't need to ask their doctors for exemption letters. That's not needed at all. So then the next step would be then to try to offer some kind of accommodation. And that's where the people have been concerned about ADA and discrimination. So it's basically that you're going to say, okay, well, how can I provide you this service, but without having the person come into the store? Although I did see another option in one of the Department of Health and Governor's emails, that another option would be to offer another time for the business when there would be really limited social interaction, less customer base. So another option besides maybe bringing the service to them outside. And then if the customer refuses, and they don't have that medical condition or disability that prevents them from wearing, then you politely tell them that you can't serve them and they need to leave. But under no circumstances, do you want to attempt a block? I think that's where, if it becomes more of an issue, then whatever procedures your business will have in place. And, one of those, I guess, could be calling law enforcement to help you. And let's see. So and then there's the question of, if you have additional questions, there is that business response center. I think we're all learning about this and learning what to do, and it'll be great to hear how it's going for all of you. My specific role isn't so much in knowing this angle of it. It's more of the why we want to wear face masks and how we can strategize around that. Is that good enough? I only have 5 minutes.
That was great. Yay. With the kids and everything. Kim, that was super. And thanks for just sharing the basics, so we have a common understanding of here's the law right now and here's how we approach it if we have a customer come and they are not wearing face masks. These are the basic steps. Yeah. And this link is also on the website.
One of the things I'll add is, so in Secretary Weissman's public, persons order, it says children in childcare and K through 12, 5 and up, can wear a face shield as an alternative, but nowhere in any of this guidance does it say that a face shield is an alternative. So I think it would be worn in addition to, so that would be something to consider. This law is specifically face coverings. And then the other piece, it was brought to my attention, I hadn't even thought about this, but that as a child care, because we know it's a little challenging for our young children to be wearing these masks, and certainly for the whole time of like a day in childcare. So would a private business owner childcare have to refuse service to a 5-year-old who isn't wearing a mask or can't wear his mask all day? So that question is actually out to the governor's office from one of my colleagues, and we'll see what they say.
Wow, fantastic.
And I don't, the enforcement piece is, I don't exactly know what's happening with that, but these things do have some teeth to it. So that's an issue too. I suppose it could come in the form of if somebody had an L&I complaint, or if there were cases related to not following the law, then that could be an issue.
Great, thank you. Okay, so we're going to transition then, and we'll have hopefully have a little time at the end if people have other questions for you, Kim. But what we're going to do now is we're going to transition to hearing from some of our peers, our business leaders, about what their experience has been on the ground. So 3 main questions: what's working? How are we helping our customers follow the state guidance? What do we say? What do we do if customers refuse? We know what the law is, what the guidance is, but what does that look like in practice? And then how do we train and support our staff for success? So I'm going to introduce to you Elizabeth Boyle, who's going to lead the panel discussion. So Elizabeth, are you ready?
I sure am. Hi, I'm Elizabeth, and I love this part of the presentation because if you're anything like me, Learning from people that are really on the ground and hearing their real life experiences is what really sinks into me. It's like, okay, so I hear the law, but what does that mean when someone comes in and does something? Okay, so thank you to all of 3 of you that agreed to be our speakers today and to just collaborating with all of us so that we can be stronger together. I really just am so grateful for each of you and your time today. So what we're going to do is we're going to start with a quick intro from each of you. And take a minute or two and just introduce yourself, your business that you're with, and anything else that's maybe something to let us know a little bit more about who you are. But just take a minute or two to do that. And then I'm going to come back to you and ask each of you a separate question. And then following each of your questions, we'll open it up for either, a couple of questions from our audience so that we can all ask these panelists some specifics. So we're going to start with Ken. Can you take a minute or two and introduce yourself to the group?
Sure. Hi, everyone. I'm Ken Bothman, and I'm one of the owners of La Fiamma Wood-Fired Pizza and Fiamma Burger downtown.
And Ken, I heard that you would deliver pizza to everyone today. Is that what I heard after Erica?
I'm sorry, I didn't catch that.
You said you would deliver pizza earlier to Erica. I was just trying to extend the offer to everyone else.
Oh, I think that was a technical glitch.
Thank you, Ken. Adrian, can you introduce yourself?
Sure. I'm Adrienne Renz. I'm the general manager of the Community Food Co-op, so the 2 grocery stores in the downtown and Cordata area of Bellingham.
And I'm assuming you were open the entire time, right? The co-op was open every...
Yes, we have been open the whole time for the entire ride.
Okay. And Kara, we need to unmute. There you go.
Hi, I'm Kara, and I own Kara's Beauty Barn, which is a small spa in North Bellingham. And it is myself, and I have 4 other employees working for me. We just reopened June, I guess it was June 8th. It's kind of a blur, but we are just figuring this all out. So I'm excited to hear how different businesses are handling all this.
Great. Thank you, Kara. So I'm going to start and ask each of you a question. If you could take a few minutes, and then we'll ask the audience for a couple of questions to follow up. And so Ken, if we can start with you. And Ken, I'm curious if you could share with us what's working at your businesses and how are you helping your customers follow state guidelines? What are any tips and tricks?
Sure. We've also been open for the duration. We never closed. So it's definitely been a journey. And in that, I guess there's kind of an advantage because we have had time to figure out what can work for us. And we also are a little more cautious to push forward faster than necessary because we actually have a system that does work. And so it's been incredibly hard to get that into place. So I'm not eager to move forward just to go back either within our business or as like kind of the population at large. So I think we're being a little more cautious right now. So I guess that's one thing we're doing is being cautious. We're also not allowing people to eat inside the restaurant. So that's another thing we're doing in the sense that it is, it just lessens the exposure risk being outside from everything I've understood. And it just makes it kind of easier to deal with, so I guess one of the things is like, we're sort of mitigating it's still important and required that people wear a mask, but we're not doing it because we're 2 feet away from them. We're asking them to wear a mask because they're, coming in the building to pick up a pizza and go, or pick up a burger and go. We're wearing a mask because this is how the system works. And we're trying to get it sort of figured out before we actually have bodies in the restaurant. So we have a better sense of like how this is going to work before we're now in a position to, run a business and be, kind of the enforcers of these policies. And it's just kind of not, especially in the restaurant business, I've said, you know, we're in the people pleasing business. You go to a restaurant, oftentimes you go to a restaurant and you're hungry, and I'm not always my highest and best self when I'm hungry. So we get people who are really particular. And I'm sure none of you've ever had a moment in a restaurant, but you know, it happens. And so we've always, you know, put customer service and pleasing the guests at the, like, that's the main thing we do besides, you know, put out, you know, food that people want. And so it's a tricky thing, I think, for everyone in our service-based industry. How do we balance being nice and enforcing this requirement? So a couple things, other things we've done that's worked is we've just put like a lot of places. We also make our own. Is this reversed? I'm sorry.
No, it's good.
Okay, so we just put these on the doors, and it doesn't say any, please, if you would. We're like, you know, we're just going to say what we mean, like they are required. So I think a lot of places are, you know, being a little more cut and dry. And then on our tables, we have these little table tents, and it has a picture of a mask. And I'll just read what it says. It says, "You look great in that mask. Please be sure to wear it when you're not at your table and whenever you're talking to someone not in your party, including your server."
Mm.
And that's even just with being outside. And I included let me know if I'm going too far on what we're doing, because I can.
No,
Did I over answer your question?
I think take another minute or two would be great. This is helpful.
Okay. And another thing we've been doing is, like, I feel like just so our approach to business is, like, we've always tried to design our system so it requires the fewest signs possible. Like, when you go into a business that's like poorly designed, there's like little signs everywhere telling you what to do, and it should be kind of like obvious what you should do. If you have the opportunity to design a good system, you shouldn't need a lot of instructions. So one thing that we have done is we've really upped our sign game. We have lots of signs now, and they're very clear because our system doesn't work for the current conditions. So we have had to do good signs, but then we've also made sure that we've designed things like our tables all have an additional table adjoining it. And I included a picture of that to show people. But so this is a picture of our deck without the chair set up. I just took this morning. So it's got the two tables, and then there's a little wooden table kind of propped up next to it. We're calling those landing pads. So when our servers come out, they drop the food on the landing pad and they can walk away. And so even though everyone's supposed to wear a mask, but I'm like, if someone doesn't, or I just think, like, building as much protection on top of the masks is also important. So, like, if we're gonna have interactions, like, do as much as we can by design that's gonna make it work. So like I said, we're not seating inside, we're doing outside, and we're also putting partitions up between each window that will allow the tables to be a little bit closer together. So yeah, that's the kind of thing we're doing right now.
That's great. Thank you, Ken. We just had a comment come through the chat that said that landing pad's a great idea. It is really cute. And calling it a landing pad seems fun.
Yeah, and for the inside, we got those great big catering trays that are like that, and with the, like, you know, the steakhouse thing where they come up and they put the thing down, and so we have those for when we move to indoor service, so we can keep the corridor open and just use them for like a loading zone landing pad thing. And that was not our idea. We stole it from someone else. Everything, like, everybody's taking ideas from everyone else, which I think I read that in the New York Times. So.
Well, Ken, that's the intention of this forum, is
yeah,
we're all borrowing, and yeah, so that's exactly, there's really not that many unique ideas. It's just how we interpret them and take them on, right? So thank you, Ken, for sharing. I was curious if anybody, if we could take one or two questions from the audience for Ken, anything about restaurants or anything that he's specifically doing in his businesses. I have a question for you. I was curious, and if anybody has a question, just you can pop your hand up. We can only see half the people here. You can unmute yourself and start talking too. Ken, I'm curious when you said about the mask at the table. I've noticed that there's been some differentiation between, like, the server's always wearing their mask, but not everyone's always wearing their mask back for the server that they're wearing within their party. How has that worked for your business? Are people putting them back on when the server arrives?
Well, we just started table service yesterday.
Oh, okay.
So, so far so good. We had people coming in and ordering at the counter and then seating themselves outside. And that actually had too many people in the building. So we thought it would actually be better at this point to shift our service. So far so good. We do have masks for people if they don't have them, and we can accommodate people if they need to come, if they're not wearing a mask, if for a medical reason, they can order online and we can bring it out to them, or we can take their order outside and bring it out to them. So we can accommodate people with similar service, and that allows us to be ADA compliant.
That's wonderful. Well, thank you, Ken. And I suspect we'll have another question for you at the end here. So we'll go ahead and move on to Adrienne. Adrienne, we have a question for you today. We're curious if you can elaborate on what do you say and do when a customer does refuse or is not adhering to the guidelines?
I think the thing that helped us the most, we started requiring masks in May, and so before all of that. And the first thing I did was come up with a script so that we had staff at the door that were stating this and gave a lot of information regarding videos, and then had a script that was, most of these conversations you have will end right away when they just say, oh, okay, and put on a mask. But then for the ones that continue to escalate, that was basically, I do not assume that my staff are going to carry the weight of that. So a talking point that said, send them to me. And then I would continue that and kind of hold the line for staff. And I think that's the best thing I could do for them. I couldn't be there around the clock 7 days a week. So it was really just them knowing that I didn't expect them to have a debate about it, but just say, we're not going to be able to hold you. We're not going to be able to offer you services today. Again, you can use our curbside program, but if you want to continue having this discussion and you don't want to wear a mask today, here's the contact information for our general manager. And we did, just to give you all context, I'd say if we see about 15,000 transactions a week, out of that 2 months that we've been requiring masks, I really have 20 people that have made enough of a statement that they've decided to contact me and make more of a stink about it. It's just that when they do, they're so loud, but I wanted to give it a little perspective. So the loudest voice doesn't sound like the voice. It's actually quite small. If you look at, 30,000 people, I have 17 that are upset. That seems like a manageable pinch point to accept, but really setting our staff up, because I didn't want them to try to navigate it, with very clear talking points and places to divert people. And then also giving them, some people still won't listen to that, and making sure that they know the next point of what to do in those cases.
How has it worked when they have given your name as the next step? Have they been pretty responsive to that? Has that eased them?
I think our staff are saying, this is out of my control. It's out of my control.
Exactly.
Take it up with the person who's writing the policies. I'm giving them the out. And it does work in many cases, but we have had to tighten up our procedures as to what's acceptable behavior. I had to get really clear. So Ken said something that made me think, yeah, we used to be really focused on customer service, and I look at all of our manuals and all of our materials. The customer was never wrong, right? You would do anything to make it work out. And and we've had to kind of reestablish what that means, because I'm also maintaining health and safety of my 200 plus staff. And that actually came in the forefront. So if somebody's being abusive, we had to get really clear on where my line was. So yes, be nice, be accommodating, be supportive, offer them other options, but just that they know I'll hold the line for them. So if somebody becomes verbally abusive, that I'm not going to tolerate that, and they don't need to take it. And that seems to be helping our staff to mediate the ongoing stress.
Thank you, Adrienne. Does anybody have a question for Adrienne today?
Yeah, I do. This is Anya from Ferndale Chamber. And one of the questions, well, it's more of a comment and I guess a question of like, how do you see this being implemented? But we've all seen a lot on social media of people who are I would go so far to say abusive and obtrusive, in that they don't want to wear a mask. They're going to bust past anyone. There was a screaming match that was broadcast on social media and taking place in Costco somewhere in Florida. And, you know, one of the things that in a lot of my nonprofit work, what we talked a lot about is de-escalation. And I think that in the times that we're in, we are all very uptight about what is going on. We want to keep each other safe. We want to keep ourselves safe. And I think that there are elements that we can probably pull out and train our employees, our servers, our workers in the most basic de-escalation techniques, so that we don't provoke further hostility. I mean, we don't know what other people are going with, and I always like to give people the benefit of the doubt, and even if their opinion difference is different than mine per se. But what we want is we want to keep the group safe, right? So how can we best de-escalate that situation? And then what trainings can we pull together? And maybe that's something that the task force can look at. But to Adrienne, like, do you think implementing something like de-escalation techniques, the most basic level, do you think that that's something that is attainable?
Yeah, I mean, that's why I say write a script, because a lot of people don't know some of the ways that you can turn it into like no, you have all the control right now. You have a choice, this or this. What do you want? And I put that kind of languaging into the script so that the staff didn't have to think through all of it. It's like you are giving the person a choice. They are still in control. And you just keep pointing back to that. So I think it is important. And I think adding it in to just support staff that maybe haven't had to have all of that training. Some people, though, are not going to de-escalate, and that's where you need to give them the safety go on that. And I mean, and I will say, looking at the organizations on here, I think if you're a service provider, you may not have people just flowing into the doors unregulated. It may be appointment based. I think those types of situations are nice when there's a checkpoint before they come into the building. And we've decided that that is a thing that we're willing to pay for, as opposed to kind of bringing the anger and the chaos into the building and having it come from multiple points. We just were like, let's have a center point of entry that we can have those conversations before it hits the building. So, and I do think there's a number of places looking for that type of de-escalation training and just some tips and tools of what to do. And then staff knowing when do they have the right to call for help if something gets really heated.
Gina, I noticed you had a question.
Yes, I do. Right now we're talking about the escalation of people who are obviously not in compliance or agreement with wearing the mask. But the other thing that I've kind of noticed, going to different establishments, is that the customers as well as the employees who are working at different places, they're not actually wearing the mask appropriately, meaning the mask is sort of kind of hanging out here on like their nose, part of their mouth are sort of like wide open. And so they're wearing a mask, but they're not really protecting anyone. And so when we're talking about de-escalating people who won't even put a mask on, how do you address somebody who's bothering to put it on but not appropriately? Because that's just as much problem, if you ask me. So how do you address that?
We are asking people to wear their masks, with full covering. So they come in, they should have a mask. If they don't have one, then a store supervisor knows. They need to be like, you took your mask off, in a nice way, but they'll approach them and say, I'm going to need to have you put your mask back on, because they know they would not have come in without one. And then if the person's doing that, like, the kerchief wear or whatever, they also will say that, and that it really does come down to, for the safety of all of our staff, we have to ask you to wear it. And then some people do choose to go at that point, or to argue the point. We just hold that line. And I feel like, again, I'll say, when I first started doing this, and I was experiencing people pushing back on it, and they can be very vehement and adamant about their opinion, is if I backed up at all, then it just kind of opened a floodgate, and our staff ended up feeling like, okay, well, I don't know where the line is. So as long as I knew where my line was and I just hold that boundary, then they know that they know where it is, and they can clearly articulate it. And then we retrain all the customers that come to the door. They show up now and they know.
It's a very delicate balance, right? Because when you start telling people your mask needs to go up higher, a little bit tighter, it almost seems like you're micromanaging their freedom, right? When a lot of people are fighting against freedom versus, health. I mean, like, there's not a question in my mind, but the language has to be so sensitive, and still you have to be pretty firm in what you're asking. So that's a very delicate balance.
I mean, I know, I'll say it again, I feel like that's where, as much as you can script out and imagine all of these scenarios, it just sets the precedent. And I'd even say for our team, while tracking the emails and calls that I've gotten, I have a script for what I say back, because each of them have their own different direction they're coming from. But at the end of the day, it's like, this is the boundary, this is what we're upholding, these are your options for accommodation. And I can't spend a whole bunch of time arguing on something that I'm just not going to.
I have one more question before I move on. Oh, sorry, Ken, you're about to say something?
Oh, and I think with regard to the, how reliable are the masks if someone's not wearing them properly, how much can we depend on the mask, working at its fullest extent, is what I was talking about in terms of, like, what other measures are we doing as well on top of that? We have a big plexiglass screen between the order terminal and the payment 6 feet away, and no one's in the building. So I think it's really important to think about that too. Like, what is your environment like? So if the person who comes in who isn't quite right, is it like, you have to kind of assume that it's not going to be 100%, even though it would be nice if it was, and you can't maybe tell everyone to move it up 2 millimeters. So you just sort of, I think that's what helps us too, is just kind of know we have the ability to set up our system so it's like a safe system in addition to the masks. So that's, I would think about those things as well. And it's never too late to change it. Like, if you don't have a screen up, put a screen up. Like, even if you hadn't done it yet, it's safer. It's anything you can do. It's not too late, because this is not going to go away. We're going to be doing this for a while.
And that's what I wanted to add, is that it's also layering, right? So you're still doing social distancing within the store, and you've got your protections at the checkout by having that plexiglass. So you're layering those things to help protect for when the person's not wearing it correctly. That's part of it. And then also, at a state level, Department of Health, as well as locally, we will continue to work on that messaging and that education from that angle. So don't put that pressure on yourself.
And I'm going to transition. John, I'm going to call on you in just a minute, but first we're going to have our third speaker speak, just to make sure we have plenty of time for her to share her insights with us today. So Kara, we're curious about, this is going to piggy a little bit on Adrian, what she was sharing, but how have you, what has been your experience with training and supporting your staff in your business?
So my business is a little bit different. Like Adrian was saying, I am fortunate enough to have, it's appointment only. We're dealing with people arriving one-on-one, which has been awesome. So back up when we reopened in June, I'm at a point where I'm checking in with my staff more than I ever have before, both personally and professionally, so that making sure that they know that I have their back. Like, I look at them as like, okay, they're my little mini me's representing my small business, and that I want them to feel empowered to say, this is what we're doing. This is what has to happen to keep everyone safe, so that they're going through the day with that empowerment. The other part that just every message that goes out from the business is has something that, so that I'm looking at it, so I hope no one's arriving with no surprises. Nobody likes surprises today, right? So that, oh, well, of course I need a mask. It said that in my reminder email for my appointment. It says that on Kara's website. It says that in her videos she does. So like, none of that, people, no one reads their emails like their appointment reminders as much as you think they hope they do. But it's on my doors. That point of entry has become crucial to that idea of not letting that negativeness come into the building, addressing it right away if someone is coming up to the door without a mask on. Most people, like Adrian was saying, it's been very few, but it has happened, and somebody getting a little escalated, or just, no, that's not what's happening. And it's not ever, what I've learned is it's not who you think it's going to be. So the first time it happened in the business was a post 70-year-old woman who has been coming for 10 years. I mean, I just was like, what? But referring back to me, of just, this is, oh, we have a mask ready for you if you're, and if it keeps escalating. The other part that we've been doing is having cough drops, and I don't know what we're small enough that that's something that we're doing, but kind of talking to the person of, if it's getting into that conversation of, yeah, this sucks. It sucks for all of us. But I found that having something in your mouth helps kind of make a mask bearable, and it gives you something else to think about, and just little things like that, where it just kind of brings everything down. But like I said, we're really fortunate that all of our interaction is one-on-one, which is both tricky and helpful. So the other piece where, if it does get to that escalated point, I've told my staff is, I am more than happy to, I will talk to the person, and that we're going to give it a 24-hour rule. So I learned that from my kids coaching, sports coaches, of that part of their script that they say is, I'm going to have Kara contact you. It'll be after 24 hours. Everything seems to de-escalate a bit after 24 hours, hopefully. And so that when I go in to have that conversation, and that's what I had to do with that lady who's been a client for years, was, hey, it's Kara, what's going on? Let's talk about this, and make a plan from there. And that seems to help both the staff member and the person. So that's been working for us.
That's super helpful. Thank you, Kara. So we have about 3 minutes until we need to transition. And I want to see if anybody has a question for Kara, as well as I know John has a question still to ask. So I'm going to lead with a question for Kara first, if anyone has something specific in the services industry or beyond. While you're thinking, I'm going to call on John then. John had a question about exemptions. John,
thank you. I'm John Jenkins with the Spark Museum, and this question actually could be answered by anybody that's open. So we're not open yet. Obviously, we're phase 3. So Oh, I thought somebody was asking me a question. My question's about exemptions. So we just recently had an all hands meeting and with volunteers and staff, and we talked about how do you feel about people coming in without masks, even if they have a legitimate excuse to not do that. And everyone was unanimous that they didn't feel comfortable being at the museum if anyone was in there without a mask or a face covering of some kind. So what we decided was that we obviously will offer a mask. If they say that they have a medical exemption and they won't wear a mask, we'll offer them a face shield. And the volunteers and staff felt comfortable with that. But in the absence of that, then we're going to just ask them to come back another time when we don't have this restriction. And our plan is to not allow anyone in without some kind of face covering. So I'm curious about if that's been an issue for anyone, and if so, how you've handled it. I think that's it. That's part of my question.
Thank you, John. Has anybody been dealing with addressing people with exemptions? Any tips? A tricky one.
I'm glad to hear it's not common.
What's that?
I'm glad to hear that it's not common.
Well, I spoke to someone yesterday that's working at the mall, and she's 74 and she's really scared of the virus. And she said they've had a huge influx of people that suddenly have asthma and that they can't wear masks because of asthma. She's like, I wonder what this new asthma thing is. But she was so frustrated because she said, well, what about my health? And she's really in a pickle as to, it was really interesting. She was really hurting and upset about it. And it's like, so I think some people are pulling out a lot of asthma. It's on the rise.
I mean, we have a lot of people stating that they have an exemption and a note from their doctor. One of the things we had read was L&I requirements. So might be something to look at, which is if there is a notable concern or threat, as noted through the CDC, then we also have an obligation to our employees. And that was where we decided to draw the line that we got to maintain their health because of their exposure level. And we're able to do curbside, so we have that alternative option too. But if I didn't have that, I still would have been like, we're going to have to figure something else out or delay. And especially if you have because of the nature, we have a high touch or close environment due to the nature of maintaining health for volunteers and employees, you may have a good case for why you would not be able to host right now. But people will definitely have exemptions. I wanted to say, can I say one more quick thing? And that's that when I was talking to someone that was upset the other day, and I did say to them, have you not had an experience of needing to wear a mask in any other retail location or any other business that you frequent? And they said, absolutely not. This has never been told to me before. And so I thought today, oh, this is great, because the more of us that are on board of saying, we are going to hold this mandate and support what has been determined by the state, the more it will become a norm. And it won't just be that when they come to one of our stores, we are the bad person or the bad entity that's ruining them. So I think the more we can all just get clear boundaries on that, it'll ease up quickly.
I totally concur with you, Adrienne. I'm noticing a couple people have done some great ideas in the chat. They've shared great ideas in the chat. We will be sharing that out to everyone. So if you have any additional tips or tricks you can share with us, that would be great. And we'll be having a recording of this forum as well on the campaign site, whatcomtogether.org. And then we'll also be sending these the chat tips out to everyone. And did I see someone had something to share? Did I see a hand? Ken?
Yeah, just quickly, one of the things that we've tried to convey to staff is, shifting from our, previous customer service model to where we are now is thinking of it more like a flight attendant. They're really nice to you when they're offering you a Coke. Try touching the exit door. They bring the hammer down. So it's like we're more like flight attendants now, where it's like, okay, everything's great. No. And there's that. And I will say also, in terms of people going ballistic, without going into all the gory details, I had someone pull a knife on me this week. And I'm fine. I stayed calm. It was crazy. And the one thing I thought was, thank God it was me.
Yes.
Not my server, you know, because it's like I had a responsibility to, like make sure everyone's okay. So yeah, it's not just happening on YouTube, and not to scare everyone, but people can go crazy here. I mean, there's a lot of crazy in the air. It's a very, very big climate of anxiety. There's a lot of people out there who aren't getting the services that they maybe had been getting before. This is downtown. You kind of notice a lot more people just kind of talking into the air. So yeah, it's not great. It's not great, and people can go crazy. Be smart, and don't, make sure that you have an out when you confront someone. Like seriously, like what? Have someone watching you. Like if you're going to go confront someone, just make sure you have a backup and you have an out. And, don't act as if everyone's going to do that, but people can go off the rails. Just saying. It happened to me 2 days ago.
I'm really sorry, Ken. Thank you though for sharing.
I'm fine though.
Yeah. And so thank you for, I feel like we could talk for hours, but we want to make sure we honor everyone's time. Holly has a couple things to wrap us up with about next forums. So
Great.
Thank you to our speakers.
Thank you all. So if you do have other ideas or tips, you can put them in the chat box. And you can also get online to the whatcomtogether.org website and just say, hey, I've got some other ideas or tools. We're really looking for people to share tools. So from our speakers today, like your emails, the things you're doing for your staff training, all that, if we can share those things with each other, I think it's super helpful. And I'm just going to close us out here with the power, just two quick things. One is we also have these open houses coming up. And the open houses they're organized by the task force members in that sector to reach out to others in their sector to help, share ideas and have conversations about best practices. So these are the dates for the upcoming open houses. And if you just want to come and listen in, that's fine too. Many of us go to gyms, so that might be fun for you. And if you would like to be notified of any of these, just make sure that you, as we mentioned at the beginning of the call, to put your name and business and email in the chat box. Or again, you could go to the whatcomtogether.org website. So next, we are going to do a forum right away, just right next week on Friday the 17th. So a week from today, we're going to do it a little earlier. So we're going to start at 10 a.m. because we're hearing just so many questions and concerns about what to do if your employee is either calling in with a fever or that they were exposed. Then what are the implications? What does it mean for them, for you, for your facility? So we're going to be talking about that in a week and just seeing if we can start getting a common understanding of that situation. So again, if you have other tips or questions, you can put them in the chat box. And I just really want to thank everybody for their time today. This was really super interesting. And we just look forward to seeing you all hopefully next week, and to go ahead and spread the word. Don't forget that you can also download all those materials. So help spread the campaign, because the more that we're together, the better this is going to go. So thank you again, and have a great rest of your day and a great weekend. I think we're done.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And thanks for our speakers.
Yeah, I'm
As
trying to
yes. As usual.
Thank you.
Good job, Elizabeth.
Aw, thanks.
I gotta jump.